Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. Today we've got something quite exciting to talk about, and that is some potential leaks of upcoming OTA changes. So, how exactly did these things get leaked? Well, if you don't know, Marvel Snap does a new video on their main YouTube channel every time a card releases. And these videos are done by creators in the community. They are given access to a special build of the game, and they get to play with the new card early, get some gameplay, drive some hype. This is something that's been going on for a little while. However, something unique happened today, and that was a little bit of a mix-up, probably unintended, but the person who featured their video actually showed some images of the collection while they were talking about their deck. And in those images of the collection and in some of the gameplay we saw, it has essentially leaked some changes that are going to be coming to the game. Now, before we look at the changes, I do want to mention we don't have any exact information on when this change is happening. We don't know if this is coming next OTA, later than that. There are a lot of possibilities here. There's also a slight change in the UI in the deck building that we noticed, so it's possible some of these things don't come to a full patch. However, the things we're looking at today are all changes that can be made via OTA, so I expect at least a handful, if not all of the ones we're going to talk about today, are going to go live in the game on Thursday. So, what exactly are the changes that we saw? Let's take a look. So there are four main changes that have been made that we can see from what we've seen in the client. We'll bring up screenshots of that a little bit later on, but we'll go over them first. And then there are also a few that we don't know the exact numbers of, but by looking at the location of where things are in the collection, we know some cards have changed, but we don't really know exactly how they've changed just yet. So the four cards that we do have confirmed here, though, are Alioth going to a 6/4, Forge going to a 1/1, which is probably going to revert him to a +2 buff. However, we don't know the exact number, but that's the only thing that really makes sense here to me. If they're going to be reducing his mana cost, they're also going to be reducing the buff he gives. The Tiger Spirit from White Tiger is going to a 5/8, and Widow's Bite is going from a 0/0 to a 0-1. So these are definitely some changes. Alioth has been a very controversial card in the community, so kind of called this one, not surprised this is a change being made. Also going to call right now, the people that hate this card are not going to be happy with this change because it's not going to be enough to make it see a lot less play. I think there will be a drop-off in play, as happens every time a card gets nerfed, but 6/4 Alioth is still really, really good at what it does, and the people who hate what it does are still going to hate their cards getting deleted, while the people who liked this card are probably going to be a bit annoyed that it got nerfed. So I think they're just making both sides mad here. Classic second dinner move. Forge, kind of sad about this one. Definitely feels like it's taking a shot at the Brood Absorbing Man deck, as that deck's been fairly strong for a while now. So not too surprised, but I am a little sad because this is definitely also going to hit pretty hard the Deadpool archetype, also hits the Phoenix Force stuff. Forge was cool in a lot of different decks, and I think if they do make him a 1/1 that gives +2, he's going to be significantly worse, unfortunately. Tiger Spirit, this is an unexpected but welcome change. White Tiger is a card you don't really see too much outside of the Pool 1 or 2 experience. However, there have been some pretty cool Wong decks using it, and some people tried Ravonna stuff as well when she came out, but, well, Ravonna's bad. But this is nice. I think White Tiger was kind of a balanced card when it first came out, when the game first released, but since then, power creep has jumped up a bit, and I think making this a 8 power card off the White Tiger is a reasonable change to give it a little bit more of an edge. And then Widow's Bite, probably my favorite change of the bunch. Black Widow has been a cool card, but a bad card for a very, very long time, and a lot of people were saying, hey, make Widow a 2/2, and a lot of people were worried about that because Widow can kind of annoy people, right? But I think this is a much more interesting and thematic change for the Widow's Bite, and it also kind of feeds into the Junk archetype a bit better in this way. So instead of getting power on the Widow, we're getting 2/2 worth of power, but part of that power is going to be the -1 on your opponent's side of the board. This is nice because it does enable a bit more counterplay, where if your opponent is trying to do some destroy stuff, they can get rid of that extra power you're gaining from the -1 on the Widow's Bite, This functionally accomplishes a similar thing as making Widow a 2/2, but leaves a little bit more room for interaction if your opponent is able to remove the Widow's Bite. So here we have our first screenshot from that video, and in it we can see the 1/1 Forge. Also worth noting, there's something else interesting going on here. Electra is gone, and she does not exist as a 1/1. Now some people might think, oh, they're just making Electra a 1/2, like a lot of people have asked. Well, if Electra was actually a 1/2, she would be placed alongside Echo in that bottom row that's slightly cut off. However, she is not. So, what does this mean? Electra is probably not going to be a 1-drop anymore. I wonder if they're going to experiment with a design where they make Electra something like a 2/2 that destroys at 2-drop, as potential more counterplay for some of the powerful 2-drops we've seen going around, like Elsa, Mobius, just a lot of good 2-drops going around right now. So maybe that's a change they make to make Electra a bit more relevant. However, that's not something I'm necessarily expecting in this OTA, but it's certainly within the realm of possibility. Next screenshot we have here from the video is one that is proving the buffs to Tiger Spirit and Widow's Bite. So for those who don't know, when a card has its base power, the number is in white. When the base power is reduced, its number is in red. And when the base power is increased, that number is in green. We can see that with the cards on the board, but interestingly enough, Widow's Bite being at -1 and the Tiger Spirit being at 8 are both white, indicating that those are their base power numbers, like we can see on the Demon, Black Widow, and the Viper on the other side of the board. Next up is the Alioth change, which we can see right here. Looking at the 6-drops, Alioth is now a 6/4 instead of a 6/5. Pretty straightforward, not much else to say there. And then something else that's pretty interesting here is looking at the 3-drops. Now, seeing the 3-drops here, you might not notice anything sticking out right away. However, Ravonna is not where she used to be. Ravonna would be right between Nakia and Rhino, and she is no longer there. So they have mentioned in the past about potentially buffing Ravonna. That's something that could definitely happen here, but it looks like regardless of how they buff her, she's not going to be a 3/3 anymore. Another thing we are seeing here is the fact that Mobius will not be being nerfed, at least as of the time of this patch, as Mobius is still listed as a 2/3 in the video. So a lot of people are hoping Mobius might get a little bit of a tweak to help out the decks that really care about doing cost reduction. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening soon. Also, Ravonna Renslayer not here as a 2/3, so seems unlikely she's going to be a 2/3, maybe a 2/2 then. However, if we look at the 2/2s here, where Ravonna would be, she's not there either, so it appears they might not be making her a 2 cost right away, instead opting to do something like bump her power, maybe to 3/4 or even 3/5 like Loki. Only time will tell. But yeah, that's pretty much all the information we have out of this leak. It is a lot of information. So what did we learn? We learned that Forge and Alioth are taking nerfs, the White Tiger token and the Widow's Bite are getting buffs, and it seems like something will be happening to Electra as well as Ravonna Renslayer, but we don't know exactly what yet, other than the fact that Electra seems to no longer be a 1-drop, and Ravonna is no longer a 3-mana 3/3, and it doesn't seem she's going to be a 2 cost either. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about these changes? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Before we close out though, it is worth noting that whatever client they use to record this videos probably has a lot of test stuff going on in it, so nothing here is 100% confirmed until we actually see what happens when we get patch notes and whatnot. But nonetheless, I thought this was something worth sharing, as these are definitely changes that I think are going to be a hot topic in the community. But yeah, just keep in mind, as with all unconfirmed leak stuff, always subject to change. I think generally the nerfs probably aren't going to make too many people happy overall. The people who hate Alioth are probably still going to hate it. The people who like it are probably still going to play it, and it still seems like a good card. The Forge nerf is probably going to hurt the Forge decks quite a bit. I don't see these buffs bringing any crazy meaningful changes, but they are buffs I like to see nonetheless. And I'm very interested in seeing what happens with Electra and Ravonna, as those are 2 cards I like a lot, but have been pretty bad for a while. So hopefully they do something to make them a bit more viable. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.